Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this special broadcast that we're running to launch the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade. My name is William Barnes-Graham, the Executive Editor at the Chartered Institute, who some of you may recognise from our long-running webinar programme and as one of the team of trade journalists behind our daily update news bulletin. I'm delighted to bring you this celebratory broadcast today, in which we will shortly be hearing from our Advisory Services Director and industry legend Kevin Shakespeare, alongside Global Trade's newest star, Senior Customs and Trade Specialist Anna Doherty. I'll be talking to them about the key role the Chartered Institute has to play in equipping businesses with the expertise and insight needed to trade compliantly and successfully. Later on, I will also be talking to Professor Sangeeta Khurana, the chair of our academic board and a professor in international trade policy at Aston Business School, about the significant role the Chartered Institute has to play as an intermediator between government and business on trade policy, and the importance of the Chartered Institute's academic role within the cross-border trade industry. But to begin with, it is always an honour to share a platform with the Chartered Institute's Director General, and I'm not just saying this because he's my boss. This is a man who, in just under 5 years since joining the Chartered Institute, has overseen an incredible transformation in the organisation, overseeing a remarkable growth in both our membership and staff numbers, helping us to gain the trust of governments and businesses, home and abroad, on a wide range of trade challenges and solutions. And of course, he has led us to gaining the highest accolade that can be given to a professional association in the UK, the granting of a Royal Charter. It's my delight to welcome onto the show the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade's Director General, Marco Forgione.
Well, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, and it's a genuine delight and pleasure to be here with you today as we celebrate the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade. I remember before I started at the Institute, you were one of the first team members I met in a coffee shop in London. Then we reconvened at HQ in Peterborough. And it's been quite a trajectory that you and I have been on over the past 4.5 years.
Marco, it really has been a journey. And we're here today to celebrate the granting of a Royal Charter. So could you just go through a little bit, what actually is a Royal Charter and why is it so important?
Well, the Royal Charter is a recognition from the monarch of the really key and important role that an organisation plays within its field. And so for the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade, that obviously sits with regards to the policy, regulation and activation of cross-border trade. The Royal Charters go back to the 13th century, so they're over 800 years old. And in that time, just over 1,000 organisations have been conferred a Royal Charter. So it's an undoubted honour that the Chartered Institute has received their Royal Charter.
Terrific. And Marco, I mean, we've got a new mission statement as well to accompany the new identity, and this statement being empowering global trade. Could you expand a bit upon this new mission statement?
Well, it's taking our foundational mission that our founders back in 1935 established for the Institute of Export and International Trade, as it was, into the Charter, which is about professionalising and establishing standards and quality in international trade and being the evangelists for the benefit of cross-border trade. You know, we are responsible for the delivery of professionalised, healthy cross-border trade. And we do that because all the research shows and evidence proves businesses which trade cross-borders are more sustainable, more resilient, employ more people, are more innovative and are more profitable. If we are going to address the most significant challenges humanity faces, whether that's environmental change, health inequalities, educational exclusion, economic development, the only way we're going to do that is by taking down barriers and not building them up, by encouraging and nurturing trusted cross-border trade.
And Marco, you mentioned the Chartered Institute was formed in 1935, just shy of 90 years ago. Today it's 2024, so why is it significant that we're getting our charter in 2024?
In life, so much is about timing, and I think it's really important, actually, that the Institute should receive the Royal Charter in its 89th year, because it will allow us both to celebrate that achievement this year, but also as we look forward into 2025 and our 90th anniversary and to the decades beyond, that we are promoting the value, the role, the essential partnership that the Chartered Institute plays in developing cross-border trade into our 90th year. So it's a real inflection point for the Chartered Institute to receive the Charter and now build towards our 90th celebrations. And this isn't just about the Chartered Institute, what it means for us. It's actually about what the Chartered Institute means here in the UK and internationally, and the really important work that we undertake supporting entrepreneurs, supporting businesses, supporting communities, regions, nations, and entire continents to grow and develop healthy, trusted cross-border trade.
And becoming a Chartered Institute, as you've just explained, a really important moment for us as an organisation. But for our members, what does it signify? Kind of beyond it, you know, obviously it's a great new name, but what does it mean for our members?
It's a badge of status and achievement. It recognises the professionalism that our members have, about the important role, the trusted role that they play in supporting businesses to trade cross borders. And we live in an increasingly unstable and uncertain world. You know, the issues we face today actually reflect some of the challenges that our founders faced back in 1935. You know, we've had to overcome, you know, the COVID lockdowns, economic instability. We've got environmental change, which has affected both production and also trade routes with the restrictions through the Panama Canal. We've got war on mainland Europe. We've got conflict in the Red Sea, all of which is disturbing, disrupting global cross-border trade, international trade, and the highly integrated supply chains. We've got the pan-national organizations, such as the WTO, are struggling to tackle and deal with the breakdown of traditional diplomatic relationships. And we place all of that in the context of the tectonic forces of geopolitics, with the two largest economies, the US and China, consciously decoupling as we speak. And what does that mean for the United Kingdom as we try now to build a growth economy where we are, for the first time in 3 generations, an independent trading nation, where we face both the challenges of the geopolitics and the disruption to global supply chains and the advent of digitalization and digital trade processes. So the Chartered Institute has a really important role to play to guide through these challenges, to help policymakers and regulators interpret the challenges and to adopt the new processes, new procedures, new technologies that will encourage and support healthy, trusted cross-border trade. We have to see ourselves, and I see ourselves as, we have a foundational mission. We were set upon and led by our founders back in 1935. We are pilgrims who are building more than just supporting economic growth. We are at the forefront of building a legacy of trust.
Thank you, Mark. A really broad-spanning answer there, taking a lot of kind of very important historical moments. Just honing in a bit then for our members, is there any kind of evolution of our services which we're doing to support our members deal with all of this, you know, difficulty in the global environment?
You're quite right. The establishment of the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade is more than just launching the new website, which went live this morning, or changing and modernizing our logo or changing our name. This is about how we really focus on those key requirements of serving the public interest, of establishing professionalism and standards at the very heart, not just of what the Institute does, but of the environment, the landscape in which we operate, that of cross-border international trade. So we're going to hear in a minute from, as you said, our leading lights, a couple of our leading lights, Kevin Shakespeare and Anna Doherty, who will explain about the new advisory practices that have been developed to serve our community, members and the wider trading community. We're going to hear also about the value that this confers on our members and the role the important role we serve, not just for our individual members, but for businesses as well. You know, the conferring of charter is about status, it's about standards, and it's about professionalism. And we bring all of that together with new services, new investments, new approaches to ensure that we build not just a legacy of trust, but a legacy of trusted trade.
And finally, because it's something I've been involved in as well, we're launching a new subscription service for the wider community.
Absolutely. You know, as an organisation which has grown its membership dramatically in recent years and has even further enhanced the community of businesses who engage with us, at a time where there is uncertainty and instability and geopolitical pressures and changes to rules and regulations, you know, the EU is bringing in the carbon border adjustment mechanism, you've got rules and regulations around sanctions, you've got changes to reporting and recording on things like deforestation, forced labour, slave labour, child labour. You know, businesses need help and support to navigate these complexities. And so the Institute, with your support and insight, has established a subscription service that is free for people to sign up so they get the news and get access to the advice and support that they need to be able to trade in a healthy, compliant manner and support the development. This will really support the development of trusted trade.
Terrific. Thank you, Marcus. Some really exciting announcements there for sure, both for our members, but also the wider community. And as you say, this isn't an end in itself. It's another stage in our evolution. So we're really excited to see what happens in the next chapter. But for now, thank you, Marco. We'll hear from you a little bit later on as well. So that was our Director General, Marco Forgione, and we've heard what he thinks becoming chartered means for global trade. But what do you, our members, think? We spoke to James Bone, a Customs Compliance Senior Specialist at DHL, to find out.
Becoming the Chartered Institute has been an incredible achievement, an incredible honour. Some would say long overdue seal of approval for all the work the Institute has done. It's been at the forefront, it's been incredibly supportive to trade, and it's really given us and other members a voice and a unwavering support during some very difficult times. So I think that this is just a fantastic opportunity to now build on bigger and better things, and I would encourage anybody to come and join the Chartered Institute and take advantage of all the benefits.
Thank you to James for taking the time to send in those really lovely remarks about what us becoming chartered means to him. As Marcus said, members are the lifeblood of the Chartered Institute, so it's been a real privilege to have read and heard all of the warm, congratulatory comments that you've been sharing with us over the last few weeks since we announced the move to becoming chartered. But to discuss further how the Chartered Institute will continue to serve members like James at DHL, I'm delighted to be joined by two of the industry's leading experts. It's always a joy to talk to Kevin Shakespeare, the director of our new Advisory Services division, one of our longest serving members of staff and one of the most knowledgeable people alive when it comes to UK and global trade. And a huge welcome as well to Anna Doherty, a senior customs and trade specialist with us, who is fast becoming one of the new stars of international trade as the industry chair of HMRC's Joint Customs Consultative Committee, or JCCC for short. Anna, great to have you with us here today. You are yourself a recent graduate of one of the Chartered Institute's qualifications, in fact, multiple, I believe, and you're now working within the company. So could you talk a little bit about your journey into the Chartered Institute?
Sure. I think everybody that knows me probably predicted that this is where I'm going to end up at some point. I've been a member of the Institute since 2014. I am indeed a triple graduate and a person that attended multiple webinars and training courses to make sure that my knowledge stays up to date. I've been a firm advocate for the Institute throughout my career, so it's always been a goal to kind of get here and be able to shape how the Institute works, how it delivers its training qualification, and how it shapes the future policy.
It's a great story. Thank you, Anna. And Kevin, you're one of our longest serving members of staff. You've been with us for well over a decade. So today must mean a lot to you as well, becoming the Chartered Institute. Could you say a little bit about what it means to you and your own experience with the Chartered Institute?
Yes, thank you. And if I think about the journey that the Institute's been on, it's always aspired to chartered status. So it's obviously such a fantastic achievement. I guess one of my first reactions is wow. We're now seeing the international trade profession really being something that we can aspire to. So for anyone new to trade, anyone experienced in trade. So it's just such a fantastic acknowledgement and achievement that we can all build on. And at the end of the day, international trade is very much based on people. People make businesses, people help trade. And it's always such a great sense of achievement in this industry. So really, really proud to be here today.
Thank you, Kevin. Marco mentioned earlier some new advisory practices which are being launched, which I believe you are heavily involved in. Could you say a little bit more about what these are?
Yeah, so the Institute's keen, obviously, to make sure that international trade is inclusive to all elements of its community, whether that's small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses, trading goods, trading services. And to do that, we have to make sure we cover all elements of the international trade cycle, the end-to-end journey. So we're very pleased to announce the practices, which will cover customs, borders, including the border target operating model, trade policy and FTAs, free trade agreements, trade regulations and compliance, including export controls and licensing, supply chain and logistics, which will include ESG, really important requirements, and trade finance. So really pleased to be able to announce that today.
And Anna, I believe you're involved in the customs practice. So could you say a little bit more about what you expect businesses will be looking for from that practice?
Sure. Customs is such a wide array of topics. But for a business, whether this is anything to do with importing or exporting, processes at the border, whether it's regulated goods, whether it's SPS products, customs declarations, this is all that the Institute and the advisory practices will be able to help as part of the customs advisory practice, regardless whether you're just a small business that needs a little help or whether you are a large business that wants to ensure that you're trading compliantly, that you're doing things the right way at the right time to both optimize the flow of your goods, but also optimize the cash flow. We can help with that. We can help with applying for special procedures and trade facilitations, meaning that you are seen as that trusted trader when it comes to dealing with the government and enabling goods flow.
Terrific. Sounds a really great service. So thank you, Anna and Kevin. Now, I said at the start of this section that you're both leading experts in the industry, and this includes sitting on various key committees, including the JCCC, which we mentioned earlier. Could you just say a little bit more about the importance of these committees and your roles on them? Kevin, if I can begin with yourself.
Yeah, and I'll probably cover more at a global level and let Anna talk more about the UK. So at a global level, what we're very keen to do is get that forward-looking view, recognising that policy in the UK, in the European Union, really derives from the global level. So I sit on committees such as at the WTO, the World Trade Organization, WCO, World Customs Organization, and UNCFAT. And it's looking at key policy, key regulation. For example, origin of goods, valuation of goods, safety and security, classification, and so on. So really important to get that forward-looking view so we can inform our members in a good content and efficient manner. The other thing I wanted to bring it quickly back to the UK was the work we've been doing on ecosystem of trust, which is effectively looking at digital trade in the UK, looking at advanced supply chain information to help government agencies and other actors get as much information as early as possible in the supply chain to advance risks of transaction. So we've done a lot of work, and we're working very closely with the various UK government departments at the moment to create that environment to reduce the costs and the time to trade.
And Anna, in a UK context, you are the industry chair of the JCCC. Could you say a little bit more about that committee and the other committees you're involved in? Absolutely.
JCCC is a HMRC-sponsored forum that includes a wide array of industry representatives. You have organizations that represent traders, small, large, gigantic. You have border users such as freight forwarders, customs intermediaries, but also port operators. So you get the whole end-to-end visibility of any impact that any policy might be having on the border. Our role is to make sure that we both represent the views of our members, meaning that we're able to tell the government how the policies that they're developed could impact those that will have to comply with it, as well as being at the forefront of talking to the government and making sure that the policies that they are implementing, that they're thinking of, that we're able to learn about them and then pass it on to our members through the webinars and all the different engagement channels that we have with them. It's not just HMRC that we talk to, though. We talk with DEFRA, we talk with Border Force, we talk about all the aspects of movement across the borders to make sure that we see that whole picture.
Finally, very briefly, it's a landmark occasion for the Chartered Institute as we go into our next era, our next chapter even. You're both at the forefront of the industry. Could you just say very briefly what you're most excited about in the next few years for global trade, starting with Kevin?
Wow, what a great question. I think the most exciting thing for me is that international trade is about people. I've mentioned about this sense of achievement. So now we have a profession that can professionalize people and really help international trade, help inspire UK individuals, UK businesses, and globally as well as trade as a source for good.
And Anna?
I would agree with Kevin. Professionalizing the customs profession is the great thing, and having a chartered institute as a backup for that is tremendous. Customs and international trade is an ever-evolving field. There's always a new regulation coming that businesses have to adapt to. So making sure that we professionalize it and there is a background of information for members for it is the key part for me.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Kevin. It really is fantastic to hear about the advisory services and our role supporting cross-border trade in services and good. Now though, let's hear from another one of our members about why us becoming chartered is so important to them. This time, Benjamin Roche, one of the excellent journalists that works on our daily update newsletter, spoke to Elliot Harris from the charity Pallet Aid.
I'm Elliot Harris. I am the director of Pallet Aid Support Services Limited. Pallet Aid is a consultant for a number of different NGOs moving humanitarian aid from various places in the world to others, but especially from the UK. Probably one of the biggest challenges that we've had, and that the Institute has helped with, was right when Brexit happened. We discovered that things became a lot more complicated, and we found that we couldn't simply replicate what we were doing. So the training I did with the Institute was absolutely brilliant. It went through everything. It put in context things that I'd only ever known from particular use cases before, and that then meant had the flexibility to then adapt to any situation that came up. So the different resources I've used with the Institute, in addition to the training, which was one of the most helpful, I've also contacted and made use of the helpline, which has helped me with some specific issues that I've had queries about. And also the daily update is really fantastic and always lets me know what's going on, lets me see things before they're going to happen, and that's really useful. The humanitarian aid sector is made up of many people, volunteers, paid workers, people of all sorts of positions. And sometimes you might think that because these aren't corporations, these aren't professional, but these groups do need professional skills and they need to develop these professional skills. And the training and advice that I've had from the Institute, I've been able to spread out to the NGOs I work with, to volunteers, and to bigger NGOs as well. It's really important that people know that I know what I'm talking about, because as you can imagine, in the humanitarian sector, there are a great number of actors. They're not all incredibly regulated. It's very easy for people to get into, and people don't always have the skills. So one of the things I'm really excited about the new chartered status is that when I'm going to work with groups, they know that I'm the real deal and that I will be able to have the skills to help them with their issues. It's a really exciting recognition, not just for the Chartered Institute itself, but for all of us members who rely on it to demonstrate our skills and our qualifications.
Another really inspiring story there of one of our members, Pallet Aid, who's an incredible example of what Marcus said earlier, global trade being a force for good in the world. To delve into this a little deeper, I'm delighted to be joined by the Chartered Institute's Academic Chair and Professor of International Trade Policy at Aston Business School, Professor Sangeeta Khurana, who indeed has joined us all the way from Delhi this afternoon. So a particularly warm welcome to you, Sangeeta. Now, Sangeeta, we just saw Elliot's story there, a really inspiring example of how global trade is a force for good in the world. He talked about how the Institute becoming chartered allows him to really say that he is the real deal when it comes to trade expertise. So how important do you think it is for businesses like Elliot's to be able to have that credibility in their supply chains?
Thank you, Will. Demonstrating trade expertise in supply chains is actually very crucial for firms in any sector. So firms which have trade expertise are the ones that can benefit from efficient operations. They are able to comply better with international regulations. They are able to optimize costs. And most importantly, they are able to manage risks much more efficiently. Now, the trade expertise also enhances a firm's reputation. It builds stronger relationship with the suppliers, and most importantly, also gives them a very very basis of trust with the stakeholders. Now, it's very great. It's really nice to see that the Institute is working with the likes of Pallet Aid that are very active in the humanitarian sector and benefiting from the qualifications which the Institute provides. So essentially what we are doing is providing businesses like Pallet Aid and other organizations basically to gain credentials by studying at the Institute, by gaining qualifications and joining the training at the Institute. And it's great to see that we are really driving ahead the mission that the Chartered Institute is delivering trade as a force for good.
Thank you, Sangeeta. And obviously, as one of the UK's leading trade academics, you also have a really big role as someone who talks to governments, both home and abroad. Could you say a little bit about this role you have, but also the Chartered Institute's role within this trade policy space?
So governments all over the world, they basically need to consider the insights of trade-focused organizations. And this is where the Institute, the Chartered Institute, has a great role to play with, because we bring the expertise of our staff and we also bring insights from members. Now, we work across diverse sectors and we work across different businesses, and we have staff from different backgrounds and expertise. So given that we are a membership-driven organization with over 7,000 members, we are able to gather insights from those businesses, and we listen to them, and we use the information that we gather to feed into government policy. So what we are essentially, to give you an example, what we are doing is we feed into public consultations, we interact with governments, and this is how we are able to feed into government policy making, and we are essentially connecting governments and businesses. So we are a neutral platform that connects businesses with the government, and this is how we support effective trade policy making at the national and international level.
Finally, Sangeeta, you've been the chair of our academic board for a number of years. Just how important is academic rigor when it comes to global trade?
I would say that academic rigor is absolutely crucial, because this is what drives evidence-based policy making. Now, let's break this down from the perspective of international businesses and then from the perspective of governments. So if there is academic rigor in the research, then we are able to support international businesses to benefit from the market-based research. Essentially, what we do is we provide reliable, well-researched information to businesses to be able to trade in current turbulent climate globally. Now, at the government level, what we do is we are able to feed into government policy making if we have academic rigor, which we do. So essentially what we are doing is we are feeding into crafting trade policy at the national level, at the international level, say, for example, even feeding into effective trade negotiation strategies, ensuring compliance with international regulations, as we were just discussing a few minutes ago, where Anna was mentioning about the importance of international regulations, and also Palatate mentioned about it. So my role at the Institute enables me to support the Institute in ensuring that the qualifications which we deliver are robust, they are academically sound, and really backed by very good academic research, and also backed by practical business insights. And this is what actually makes the qualifications which we deliver really robust and rigor, because we are not only combining the academic quality, but at the same time, we are drawing insights from businesses to provide the solid base of qualifications which the Chartered Institute provides.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Sangeeta, for the answers and for your time as well. Thank you for joining us all the way from Delhi this afternoon. At this point, though, we're going to watch another video of one of our members. This time, our editor, Phil Adnett, interviewed Lindsay Hogg, the founder of King's Award winner Hogg Logistics.
I'm Lindsay Hogg from Hogg Global Logistics. We're an international freight forwarder and logistics provider, so we ship manufactured goods around the world. My story started when I was 8.5 months pregnant. I should have been getting ready to give birth, but I was setting a company up. We kind of started in this office, just me and my dad. It was like a broom cupboard, but we were over the moon to be there and doing what we loved. We're on to our third office now, and our turnover and profit have increased year upon year. I leaned on the Institute of Export a lot for support. We were hit by COVID, and Brexit. So I took the opportunity over lockdown to upskill, completing between 20 and 30 courses with the Institute of Export. For me, it was a silver lining throughout COVID when you went online and, the courses were easily accessible to me. I love logistics and I love everything about international trade. So it was great listening to like-minded people all day, and kind of learning again. We do employ 5 people. They're always allowed to do any courses they want. We will fully fund the courses. If they want to do it, we'll pay for it. We're quite happy to do that. It doesn't always have to be about business. We've seen what was happening with the Ukraine war, and we wanted to use our skills for good. So we sent 2 trucks of humanitarian aid under full customs procedures before there was any easements. We got donations, people knocking on the door. We raised £13,000 in a 2-week period. We went on to send a further 8 trucks. 2 of them were driven by my dad and my brother, just in a bid to give back and use our skills for good. The Institute did help because it sent an email out that did say, you didn't need to follow customs procedures for your humanitarian aid. So I followed the guidance on the Institute's website for the further 8 trucks that went out. We were King's Award winners last year, so we know how much that means to a business, and we know how much of an achievement it is. So we think it's fantastic that the Institute have become the Chartered Institute. It's brilliant, it's a brilliant morale boost, and it further enforces their values of excellence. They've been brilliant at helping businesses and traders around the UK, like myself. So we do welcome the news, and well done, everybody.
Another inspiring story there from Lindsay, and it really is great to see how much of an impact our educational support has had on businesses throughout troubling and uncertain times, whether that's the pandemic or the war in Ukraine. We're surely going to start wrapping up, but before we do, I'd like to welcome back Marco, who's going to answer a few questions you, our members, have been sending in over the last few weeks. Marco, welcome back. So a question a few people have been asking is, will they need to reapply for membership now that we're the Chartered Institute?
That's a really good question, and the answer is no. we held an EGM earlier this year where it was agreed that all members will transfer directly from the Institute of Export and International Trade into the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade. So there's no need for any members to do anything. They will receive communication from the Chartered Institute over the coming weeks, but there's nothing they need to do. They don't need to reapply.
Very reassuring. Thank you, Marco. A few people have also been asking about the Charter itself. So is it a physical document and where can it be found?
It is indeed a physical thing. The Charter exists with a huge seal, quite right, representing both the import and status of the Charter. Remember, the Royal Charter goes back over 800 years and just over 1,000 organisations have received a Royal Charter. And this, to the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade, was one of the first that His Majesty King Charles III has conferred. I'm delighted we've actually got the physical Charter with us today. I'm going to call back Anna to reveal the Charter.
As if by magic. And it really is giant, the seal. So it's quite amazing seeing it in the flesh, as it were. Great to see it. We've also had a few people ask about the suffixes. So currently members can use the MIEX suffix. So what's happening with those now we're chartered?
So all members will, as we say, move over to the Chartered Institute, become members of the Chartered Institute. So the suffixes will change. So they will become members or fellows or associates of the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade. But we've got, obviously, with Anna, not just leading up one of our advisory practice, but indeed one of our graduates. So maybe you'd like to say a few words about what Charter status means for you.
Absolutely, and I think the suffixes are so important to even showcase a journey a student or a member has taken. If you're brand new to the profession, you can join as an associate member. You then move on to the full member with the MCIX suffix now. You may get to add grad at the end if you complete qualifications, and perhaps at some point in your future, you may become a fellow. You know, that is something to absolutely aspire to become a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade.
Incredible. So the dream is to get an FCIEX.
Yeah, it's my dream.
Terrific. Marco, anything else you want to add?
I do. Well, thank you for hosting today's event. It's been brilliant. Brilliant to hear from members about the impact of being part of the Chartered Institute's journey and our heritage, what it means to be part of our community. To hear from Sangeeta, from Kevin and from Anna about the new innovative services that we're developing and establishing to support traders, to support businesses and to support entrepreneurs. Look, as we view the changing world of global international trade, when we address the complexities of global cross-border trade, when we consider the role that the Institute currently plays, whether that's nationally, you know, Anna is chairing the JCCC advisory group, we sit on the Critical Imports Council. We chair the E-Commerce and Trade Commission. We advise policymakers and officials and the regulators here and internationally. Kevin was highlighting the work we do with the WTO, World Trade Organization, with the She Trades Initiative, helping female entrepreneurs in the developing world. We work with the MSME program, Micro, Small, Medium Enterprise program, again, focusing on capacity building in the Global South. We sit on the UN bodies. You know, we're represented on the B20, the Business Advisory Group to the G20, talking about trade and investment. Never before has the role of the Institute, and now the Chartered Institute, been more important and more cogent. We, as I said at the outset, we are pilgrims looking to build a future of trusted trade. So wherever you are in your international trade journey, whether as an individual, as a professional, or as a business, the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade stands here ready to be your partner, your ally, to stand shoulder to shoulder with you, to ensure that you benefit from those incredible opportunities that global cross-border trade offers. As you know, you've heard me say it before, businesses which trade cross-borders are more sustainable, more resilient, employ more people, are more innovative, and are more profitable. To address humanity's biggest challenges, the only way we do that The only way we will achieve that is through global, trusted, cross-border trade. We stand here looking to the future, building a legacy of trust.
Thank you, Marco. That was quite an inspiring ending to the broadcast. So we'll start wrapping up now. So we began today with Marco explaining why us becoming the Chartered Institute is so important for empowering global trade, particularly during a time of heightened geopolitical tension and the recent rise of protectionism. Kevin and Anna then expanded upon their activities representing members in the trade industry at various key committees, and they also shared their insights into what the big issues are going to be for trade in this new era for the Chartered Institute. Professor Sangeeta Khurana also joined us to talk about the important role of the Chartered Institute as an intermediator between government and business, as well as the important role it has as an academic institution in creating trust in trade. And we heard from some of you, our inspiring members, about what us becoming chartered means for you. Whatever your takeaway from today's broadcast, I hope you found it informative and inspiring. And I hope that you'll come with us into this exciting new chapter as we seek to achieve our mission of empowering global trade. Thank you.